As you probably know, I run the bookshop in Ramsgate, and one of the things I do a fair bit of is reprinting local history books. So I'm not really going to do a review, I'm just going to show you one and the type of thing that I do to it to give you some idea about the local history books that you might want or be interested in or come in and have a browse of. So, first of all, this book, here's the original book, and as you can see, it's a bit scruffy, but a lot of the guides from this period are like that. It was produced about 120 years ago, I suppose, and it's got lots of pictures of Ramsgate in it, which you would expect, and of course you know the dates right. Often with this type of thing you get a photo, perhaps a postcard, and you look at it and you look at the postmark and you think, well, it's a lot older than the postmark. Perhaps it was old stock, perhaps they just kept using the same picture over and over. Anyway, here's the reprint. So we tidy it up a bit, make it reasonably okay, and we get the price down. Now, if you were to go and buy this book, what was it, published 1895, you'd pay, I don't know, about £100, bit more, bit less, depending on where and when, how lucky you were. But it's not something you'd normally pick up for ordinary money. And when you get it, you want to be careful with it. Really, I think it will probably only appeal to a collector, and a collector with quite a bit of money. So, going through this, I think probably one of the more interesting things about this is that it was produced at the time when Ramsgate was newly governing itself. Oops, sorry about that. So, I'll just move the camera a bit to make a few funny noises. Now, you see, Ramsgate was governed by Sandwich, and Sandwich was an old Cinque Port, and this gave Sandwich the ability to collect taxes, and most of the taxes related to Sandwich being a port. Well, Sandwich used to be on the coast, and then the Wantsum, the sea channel that divided the Isle of Thanet when Thanet was an island, slowly silted up. And Sandwich had all sorts of issues because it wanted the taxes and it wanted to be in charge, and Ramsgate was a limb of the Cinque Port of Sandwich. So one way or another, Ramsgate managed to get its own government. And here in the book it says, Ramsgate, until comparatively recent years, to a large extent was overlain in its local government by the decayed port of Sandwich, of which it formed a subordinate limb as a member of the Cinque Ports. And it goes on really to show how Sandwich managed to get incorporated as a borough, and how the people of Ramsgate decided to pay more rates and to sort the town out. And the thing that they had really just done is what they call the Rockery on the East Cliff, which is the whole Madeira Walk, Albion Gardens business, which there was no road. You could come down very narrow roads which hadn't been widened. Ramsgate High Street was incredibly narrow, and the cliffs went to the little gap that was Ramsgate, and then on the other side, I don't know whether it's going to appear in here, I don't think they'd done it by then, they did the harbour arches. So it runs into this. Now here's a piece on Ramsgate Lifeboat, and a thing on recreations and amusements, sending you out round the area. There's a ducking chair at Fordwich. I don't know whether actually ducking a person in 1895. It looks a bit realistic. It seems, you know, one way of dealing with it. There's a thing here on schools and churches, very short. Nice thing on smack owners and fish salesmen, pleasure yachting, brewers and wine and spirit merchants. And you can see that it's much more getting your history from source. It's not going to be very far wrong because of when it was published. No one will have messed with it, in other words. They haven't got between you and your local history. This one, which is published by us now, and this one, which was published by, who is it? Rothschild of Gravesend in 1895, is exactly the same. So if I turn to page 66, and you can see there's nothing to choose between the two of them. We haven't, in fact, got between you and thought perhaps we know a bit more about what was going on in 1895 than they did then. Price-wise, well, the one we produce is $9.99. Now, you may think that's quite a lot of money for a staple-bound book, and that's really down to the print runs. The less you print, the dearer it's going to be. But, yeah, it's really about £100 or about a tenner. Anyway, that's my first attempt at weblogging. Goodness knows what it's like. So I'll try and turn the camera off and